Hello there, my beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Midlife Purpose Project. This is actually my first recording in a couple of weeks. I was away on vacation in Oregon, and I had done a bunch of recording before I left. So I've been off the mic for a while, and I am excited to be back here with you recording this episode. My trip to Oregon was amazing, but as always, life has its lessons for us. So if you want to read about my life lesson that I learned in Oregon, head over to Substack. I'm just Katie Farinas on Substack, and you can find out all about that because life is always teaching us something, teaching us about ourselves, teaching us really the places in life where we still aren't free. And we think that we're free, but really our minds are what keep us trapped. And I found another sticky spot where I am still not free. And honestly, it's a lesson that I have learned before, and I just needed another reminder because that's the way life goes, right? We're all on the journey. It's all a practice. And often we need to learn the same lessons over and over and over before they finally stick. So I'm not sure if I'm going to come back to this lesson again, who knows? But I was certainly reminded of it on my vacation. So head over to Substack and read about that and see if it applies to you as well. I also want to remind you to sign up for the newsletter. I have a new freebie coming out soon. So if you're on my newsletter, you'll automatically have access to that. It's a masterclass on helping you uncover or discover your dharma, your soul's purpose. And it's 5 steps. I walk you through them. We do some exercises together. I think you're really going to like it. I've sent it to a few people just to give it a trial run and see what people thought, and I've had a lot of great feedback. So I think you're really going to love it. So sign up for my newsletter. You can go to katiefarinas.com and hit the newsletter tab at the top, or you can use the link in the show notes. Okay, on to this week's episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This week, we are going to focus on a quote by Yogiraj Achela, which is, "What are you not seeing? Because you are seeing what you are seeing." Now, the first time I heard that quote, it was very confusing to me. So I'm going to read it to you again. And it might take, a little bit of listening to this episode to fully grasp the concept. And I totally get that because it took me a moment to do it as well. But it is a beautiful quote and a beautiful reminder. So, what are you not seeing? Because you are seeing what you are seeing. Now, this quote came to mind because my daughter started her senior year just a few days ago. And as a parent, she's my eldest. As a parent, I was reflecting back on my experience of parenthood and thinking about how quickly time flew by and how I can remember, bringing her home from the hospital. She was in her car seat. We brought her into the house in her car seat and put her on the floor. And my husband and I looked at each other and we were like, now what? Like, what do we do? Right? And that feels like yesterday. And here we are. We have 1 year left with her living in our home full time. And it feels like that time was the blink of an eye, right? That it passed in the blink of an eye. And there's that parenthood expression, the days are long, but the years are short. And it is so incredibly true. And I looked back, I was reflecting back on my experience of motherhood, and I realized that I missed out on a lot of the beauty and the magic of the experience of motherhood because of where my thoughts were at the time. So motherhood was really my catalyst for inner transformation. There were many things along the way, but it definitely began with motherhood. And for much of her childhood, I was stressed out. I was feeling like there was never enough time. I was comparing myself to other people and judging myself and feeling like I was not as good of a mother because I needed self-time, or because I wasn't as creative, or I wasn't room mom, or, all of these things we judge ourselves for. I compared even our family to other families, wondering if, we should be spending more time together as a family, or we should be doing more activities together as a family. Or, my husband worked a lot, has always worked a lot through the years. And so a lot of the times it was just me and my kids. And then wondering, like, is that harming them in some way that their father is working so much? All the questioning. Were they getting enough sleep? Were they eating healthy enough? Were they spending enough time outdoors, getting enough exercise, engaging enough creative play? I mean, I could go on with all the things that I worried about and wondered about and questioned myself on. And because of that, for many years, motherhood was not a very enjoyable experience for me, because I was stuck in this never ending cycle of worry and comparison and fear and lack and judgment. Judgment of myself, judgment of the experience of parenthood. It really was a super stressful time for me when my kids were young, and up until I really had a lot more inner transformation, but that took a long time. And so when I look back, I feel sad, honestly, that I missed a lot. I missed a lot of the abundance because I was seeing what I was seeing, right? What was I not seeing? I was not seeing the abundance because I was seeing what I was seeing, which was all the stress, the fear, the lack, the worry, the judgment. Okay. So I don't want to, I really want to take in this senior year. I really want to enjoy it. I want to see all the abundance that exists there. And although I am light years from where I was when I brought her home and stuck her on the floor and said, now what? Um, I am still a human, right? I'm still just a person walking the walk, right? Doing the things. And I still am incredibly busy and trying to juggle home, work, family, my own personal journey and evolution. And so I still get caught up. I still get, have the experience where I know I'm missing out on the moment. I'm missing it, right? Because I am stuck in that lack and fear. So I have made a commitment for this year that I am going to work extensively on seeing the abundance that exists in every single moment. So when they were a kid, I missed out on, the magic sometimes when they were being super curious and full of wonder, but I was rushing them along because I had somewhere to go. Or they were offering their unconditional love, but I was tired and I just wanted them to go to bed. Or they wanted me to be silly and playful, but I had a pile of dishes and laundry to do, right? I missed out on these experiences because I was too caught up, right? I was too caught up in my own thoughts, and these were fear and worry and lack-based thoughts. So my commitment this year is, although I still have the piles of laundry and the piles of dishes and the job and the two kids and the dog and all the things, that I commit to becoming aware of what I'm not seeing because I'm seeing what I'm seeing. So I'm going to give you another way of trying to understand this, and it's a visualization. So I want you to take a moment and imagine that there's a park, a public park, lots of green lawns and little walkways. There's a playground, there's trees and, beautiful big trees, and it's spring and there's flowers blooming in the beds. And it's a sunny day and the weather is really nice. And there are two versions of you. And they're both sitting on the same exact park bench. So they're in this beautiful park and they're sitting on this bench and they're side by side and they're both you. And the first one is looking around and she's taking in the sights and smiling as she watches the children play on the playground. She sees and hears the trees blowing in the wind, and she hears birds as they're chirping and flying from tree to tree or flower to flower. She takes a moment to observe the beautiful colors of the spring flowers, their vibrant pinks and purples and whites. And she chuckles as she sees a cute little dog pass her by on one of the walkways, and he is sniffing all over the place and finding the perfect spot to pee. And she feels very relaxed and just takes in a big, deep breath and then sighs it out, just feeling that fresh air fill her lungs. And in that moment, she recognizes that she feels peaceful and content and grateful, and she feels vibrantly alive. Sitting next to her is version 2 of you. And in this second version of you, you're sitting on the park bench, but you're lost in thought. You're caught up in what you have to get done that afternoon, and your shoulders tense as you wonder if you'll have enough time to get it all accomplished. Your mind wanders, thinking about a meeting you have later, and your stomach tightens in a knot as you anticipate a tough conversation you need to have with a colleague. Thinking about this upcoming conversation brings you back to a previous difficult interaction with this same person. And you are immediately replaying how you feel they disrespected you, how they were wrong, but they refused to admit it, and how they were just unkind. You are filled with feelings of stress, dread, fear, and injustice. Same person, same bench, same park, totally different experience. The magic and the abundance of the park is the same, and it is available to both of you. But only one person was able to receive it. And why is that? Because one person's focus of awareness was on the present moment and the beauty that existed in that present moment. And the other person, still you, but the other version of you, was focused on the past and the future. And those thoughts were based in fear and lack, right? So the magic and the abundance is available, but if you aren't careful, you could miss it. You could not see it because you are seeing something else, right? And what you are seeing is completely dependent on where you are placing your attention. Here's the other thing that happens. That first version of you, the one that is fully present and connected, the one that is seeing and appreciating the beauty that surrounds them, that person is deeply connected to themselves and to pure consciousness. You could call pure consciousness divine, God, whatever term resonates with you. But when we are present and when we are deeply grateful for what is occurring in the present moment, that's like a portal. It's a portal to the divine and to the connection to the divine. You are tapped in and turned on, and the container of you, right? This energetic field that is you is wide open and receptive. And I think if you think about how your body and mind would feel if that were that version of you, if you think about putting yourself in that place, you're sitting on that bench, you're looking around, you're seeing all these beautiful things, you're smiling, you're chuckling, you're appreciating, you're deeply breathing, right? You're tapped into your five senses. You can imagine what your body would feel like. Your body would feel light and expansive and open And that is where consciousness comes in, right? We have opened up our container, the container of ourselves, and we have said, we want we want to connect. We want to connect in with our higher selves and connect in with something greater than ourselves. And we do that by being present, grateful, and aware of the abundance. The second version of you, you can also probably imagine what your body and mind would feel like in that situation, right? Your body's probably tense. Your mind is hyper focused on these thoughts that we were talking about. And the container of you is shut off, right? It's like a locked box. Nothing can get in there. It's a fortress, right? So God can't get in there, or the divine or pure consciousness, whatever, again, word you like to use. You have essentially put your armor on and shut yourself off. Because when we're in that receptive mode, when the container of us is open, when we are present and grateful and seeing the abundance, we're calm, right? Our body is relaxed. That's when not only do we see all the magic that exists, right? And feel the wonder and the awe, right? And all the things that we want to feel. It's also where we see synchronicities. It's where we suddenly come up with creative solutions to problems. These types of things are only available to us when we are in that abundant state, when we are in that open, receptive state, when we're in gratitude, when we're very present, right? That's when we can access something that's greater than just our mind. We go beyond the mind and we have access to something so much bigger. When we're in version 2, when we're hyper focused, closed off, shut down, when we have that armor on, it feels like hitting a brick wall, right? When we're trying to solve a problem or we're trying to even experience joy or gratitude, it's like we can't. We're pushing up against rock or brick, right? It's impenetrable. And the only way to remove the armor is to become aware of where our thoughts are, right? Where am I in this moment? Am I present? Am I in the past? Am I in the future? And what types of thoughts am I having? So our thoughts are with us all the time, obviously. And I forget the exact statistics, the numbers, but I think it's something like we have 90,000 thoughts a day, and about 90% of them are the same. Those numbers might not be exactly true, but you get the point of what I'm saying is that our thoughts are very powerful and they repeat. And if we are not aware of the thoughts, then they control us, right? Because your thoughts lead to a feeling and your feelings lead to your behaviors, and your behaviors impact the rest of your life, right? They impact your relationships, your work, your parenting, your relationship with yourself, right? They impact everything. So one of the best ways to step out of the trance of that lockdown version 2 of you and to step into the capital T truth of abundance that exists all around you at all times is to become very aware of your thoughts. Now, how do you do that? Well, my favorite way, and not just mine, yogis for, more than 2,000 years and present day people, right? And science all back the same thing up, which is meditation. And I know a lot of people resist meditation. They feel that they can't do it, they're not good at it. It's uncomfortable. There are many reasons why people feel that they can't meditate. But one of the biggest things that I hear people say is, I can't stop my thoughts. I just, I close my eyes and my brain just, goes berserk and I have all these thoughts. And so I can't meditate because I can't stop my thoughts. And I've said this before in other episodes. I will say it again in the future until everybody can let this sink in. Your brain has a job, and that job is to think. It is an organ in your body, and it is no different than any other organ in your body that has evolved to perform a function. So your heart evolved to beat, and your stomach evolved to break down food, and your kidneys evolved to remove toxins from your bloodstream, right? Every part of you has a function that it has evolved to do. And the function of the brain is to think, right? So when we can really let that sink in and really accept it, that the brain's never going to stop thinking, we can release the expectation that it will and release the judgment of ourselves when we sit down to meditate and we start seeing the thoughts coming through. And in fact, not only should you release the judgment when you start witnessing your thoughts, I applaud you, right? Because once we witness our thoughts, once we become the witness, we can see them as thoughts, not as ourselves. Then we can do the important work of questioning them, right? We can start asking ourselves, is that really true when a thought comes through? Do I really believe that? If not, what do I believe? What is true? If this is a thought that I'm having every day, all day, on repeat, how is it making me act? How is it making me interact? How is it making me see the world? And is it keeping me from seeing the truth? Is it keeping me from seeing the abundance that's around me all the time? Those are the things that we can start getting curious about when we begin to train the mind through meditation. And we can train our attention so that we get to choose where we focus, right? That's the beauty of meditation and mindfulness, is we can become present in any given moment once we are aware that we are not present, right? We can come back to presence. We can notice what is available in that moment. Whether you're in a beautiful park, like I mentioned earlier, or you're stuck in traffic on the way home from work. Either way, it doesn't matter. Once you lean into the present moment without resistance to what is, and you sink into that moment with your mind and your body, you can start to see and feel the abundance that is available to you. And you can feel all the gratitude that comes with it. You can start to see what you're not seeing because you're seeing what you're seeing. That's the gift, right? That's the gift of training the mind through mindfulness, through meditation. It's becoming aware of the truth of reality, the truth that's unstained by your perceptions, your expectations, your conditioning, your desires, your preferences, your habits, right? You can start detaching from all of those things and just seeing the truth. Because in any given moment, the things that are happening are not good or bad. They are neutral, and it is our perception that makes them good or bad. Right? So you're stuck in traffic on the way home from work. I'm going to venture to say most people would say that that's bad. They don't want that, right? Because what are the thoughts in the mind? I don't like this. I don't want to be here. I'm tired. I want to get home. I'm going to be late for my kid's soccer practice. Um, I'm hungry. I mean, the list, right? The list goes on of the things that we could be saying to ourselves in that moment. But what if in that moment we dropped the resistance to what was? We accepted the present moment as it was. We witnessed the thoughts in our mind, and we looked for the opportunity, right? We looked for the opportunity in that moment to be fully present. So what does that look like? So you're stuck in the car, you have all these thoughts running through you, and you notice that you are starting to feel really closed off. You're feeling tense and tight and, frustrated and angry, and maybe your blood's boiling, right? People aren't moving fast enough. Why, what's going on? I don't even see an accident. Why is this traffic backed up? I'm never going to make my kids practice, right? Here we go. This is very common, right? Very common experience. What if in that moment you decided to accept the present moment as it was? Take a few deep breaths, feel into your body, right? Maybe feel your hands on the steering wheel and how smooth the steering wheel is, or maybe you have a heated steering wheel and you've got it turned on and it feels nice on your hands. Maybe feeling the weight of your body in the seat, or the feeling of your one foot on the floor, your other foot on the pedal. Maybe feeling the slight vibration of the car, that little purr of the car that you can feel. What if you took your vision, your actual field of vision, and instead of hyper focusing it on the car in front of you, that you expanded it and you looked up at the sky and you took in as much of your field of vision as you could, right? Seeing the sky, seeing the clouds, maybe seeing a bird fly by, maybe seeing some trees that are on the side of the road, right? Just taking it all in. Maybe putting on some music that feels calming and relaxing and centering, or maybe just listening to the environment. And then once you feel rooted, right? This is you're grounding yourself. That's what you're doing. You're using your senses to ground yourself into that present moment. Look for the abundance like it's a game of hide and seek. So first ground yourself, witness the thoughts, and feelings are meant to be felt. And I would never say to push the feelings aside and say that they're not valid, right? So our feelings are meant to be felt. We can see them, recognize them, and then allow them, and then also choose. We can re-choose, right? We can turn the flashlight of our awareness. So we can either keep the flashlight on our awareness on what is going wrong in this moment, or we can pan right and see what's going right in this moment and look for that abundance like it's a game of hide and seek. What feels abundant in this moment? And what can you now see that you couldn't see just a moment ago because you are intentionally looking for the abundance in that moment? So this is a method, right? It's a method of becoming aware of the thoughts that are in your mind, questioning the truth of those thoughts and how they're making you feel, act, and interact, grounding your body into the present moment, and then looking for the abundance that exists. That's the method. And we keep doing this over and over again. Just like anything else, this is a practice just like any other. And so when we practice this method over and over, eventually we will create this neural pathway where one day you're going to find yourself kind of automatically seeking out the abundance, automatically just looking for it in any moment. And then eventually you won't have to seek it because you'll just see it. You've trained your brain for it. And it's how we don't miss out on our life. This is how we remain present and we don't miss the small moments, the big moments, all the moments, and how we make each of the moments as meaningful and fulfilling as they were meant to be, as we were meant to experience them. That's why this abundance exists all over around us. It's for us. It's for us to enjoy. It's for us to feel. It's for us to experience. That's why it exists. But if we close ourselves off to it, we miss out on so much of the beauty in life. So I plan for this next year to practice this method myself over and over and take in as much of this last year with my daughter at home as possible and take in as much of my life as possible, the truth of my life, the truth of the abundance and the deep connection to that something bigger where all answers come from. Okay, I hope that was helpful. I hope those stories and visualizations gave you an idea of what that quote really means. And remember those steps, right? So those steps were becoming aware of our thoughts. And you can do that in a seated, meditation that you schedule every day. You can do that. Sometimes I set reminders on my phone to check in, right? Set a reminder at 11 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. How are you feeling? What are you thinking? And how are your thoughts and feelings contributing to what you're experiencing right now, right? So check in. What are you thinking? How are you feeling? And settle into the body, ground yourself in, and then look for the abundance that exists in that moment, right? Really see it, feel it, and allow yourself to have fun with it. This can be really fun. Seeking out abundance. Maybe that's what I'll name this episode. I don't know. You'll find out when the episode comes out. But seek it out and you will see how it exists everywhere, all the time. All right. Have a great week, my friends. Namaste. I'll talk to you next time. Thank you for joining me on this journey of self-discovery here at the Midlife Purpose Project. I hope today's conversation sparked something deep inside of you, made you laugh, or reminded you that you are never alone. Remember, it's never too late to reconnect with your soul's purpose and live a life of meaning. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the show, or share it with someone who could use a little inspiration. It really helps the show reach more women and helps me keep the content ad-free. Join me next time as we continue to explore what it means to live with purpose in midlife.